Welcome back to Manga Storian's Complete Story Series. Today we're going to be continuing our storyline for Berserk. Now in our last video, Guts began his battle against Mozgus and his executioners. As Luca got separated when trying to sacrifice herself to save the others, the Skull Knight rescued her just before she met her end. As Luca and the Skull Knight deal with the Apostle calling himself the Egg of the Perfect World, Guts tries to fight his way through the executioners to get Casca back from Mozgus. Back up in the tower, the executioners all focus their attention on Guts as he tries to push his way through them. The crow clamps down on Guts' head with his talons, forcing him to be stalled while Mozgus spreads his wings and he flies off with Casca. The crow tells Guts that he just attempted to kill a priest. He's been sentenced to death! The wheel-wielding executioner slams his wheel into Guts' chest, and then he proceeds to continue bashing into him over and over. Guts tries to pick himself back up, and as he does, the claw-wielding executioner hooks into Guts, keeping him in place. The giant executioner grabs back onto his wheel as Guts watches, and he tells himself that he knows that he can't dodge this. His only chance is to get out of this by attacking. As the executioner swings his wheel, Guts bites down onto the string on his cannon in his fake arm, blowing a hole through the executioner's stomach. The claw-wielding executioner tries to pull Guts back, but Guts uses the momentum from the cannon blast to spin his sword and tear into him. The smaller executioner flies through the pillars to attack, but as Guts gets back up, he begins to count. And when he says 3, the executioner sees something thrown past him, and the miniature bombs explode! While the executioner is stunned, Guts thrusts his sword straight through, impaling him as he floats there, and then he tosses away the small body as the crow looks at him and he tells him that he wishes to thank God for being allowed to witness a miracle in his last moments. The crow then throws out his collar, and as it gets closer, Guts watches as it latches around his neck. At that exact moment, he swings his sword upward, cutting the pole in half. A moment after that, the crow's neck slices open and he falls to his knees. Guts pulls the needle like feathers out of his face, and then he looks back at the group and he sees Farnice standing with them. But before anyone can say a word, the tower begins to shake and crumble around them. Back outside of the ground, Luca and the Skull Knight watch as a giant mouth with eyes begins to take shape with the bodies of the dead surrounding them. The Skull Knight looks around at the demons and says that it seems the door is still not opened yet, however it will soon. As the demons start to close in on the two of them, the Skull Knight begins to grab a hold of Luca, and he jumps on his horse as it runs by. The Skull Knight then says that everything is happening as predicted. It looks like the festival has already started. Over at the gates of the tower, Azan and the rest of the knights watch to see if anyone has had word on Farnice's whereabouts when there's a loud explosion from the inside. Stone and rocks shoot by the knights and Azan asks, "What is going on in there?" Soon a giant bubble pushes out from the destroyed gateway, and as it gets closer, Azan says that it's the demons! More and more demons begin to crawl out of the tower, and with so many beginning to break through the wall supporting the tower, it begins to fall around everyone, and the shift in the ground causes Farnice to trip and fall. Her body begins to tumble down the stairs towards the hole outside, where she suddenly feels someone grabbing onto her chest plate. She looks back up to see Serpico holding onto the ledge, and then he brings her back up before the floor gives way. Even after rescuing her though, the tower still crumbles as Mozgus watches from the outside. The moon shines down on the tower and it begins to recreate the setting as it did for the eclipse. The demons begin to spread down into the refugee camp, slaughtering everyone that they can get their hands on, and the fire begins to spread throughout the camp as the refugees try to escape, but they're still being killed one after another. The fire that is spread is in the shape of the brand, meaning all of those people down there are about to be sacrificed. Guts looks back when he hears the murmurs of the demons, and then he sees that he's right back where he was when the eclipse first came. Down below, Azan and the rest of the knights try to save as many people as they can, and then he sees the group being chased by the demons. The knights prepare for the rush of demons, and then a fiery blast shoots by, stopping the group. The fire burns away at the demons and the possessed, and a knight shouts for everyone to look up. In the sky, Mozgus floats with the twin executioners, while still carrying Casca and Ishidoro. Mozgus tells everyone to praise be the god! He calls out to everyone that you have nothing to fear, no matter what evil those pagans use, as long as you trust God, a miracle shall happen! Behold the power of God and what he has given me, these wings will destroy all the evil before us! Mozgus then holds Casca, telling them, this woman is a symbol of the pagans and we will execute her right now! Mozgus continues breathing fire, pushing the demons back, and the refugees construct the pole that Casca shall be burned at. Once they're done, the refugees all start pulling at Casca, bringing her to the stake. She begins to scream and Guts watches and he begins to panic, but before he can jump down, more demons begin to make their way to the top of the tower and surround him. As the clumps of bodies begin to take shape, Guts starts to see the forms of the 4 god hands from before. Allowing his rage to take over, he charges in at the one shaped like the void and he cuts into it. As the bodies begin to fall, more push up to return to its original shape. Guts thinks that this must be an illusion with him being so close. There is no pain coming from his brand. And then he hears the murmurs of the demons and he remembers what the Skull Knight told him. He can either fight or save the girl. He can only do one, and Guts grits his teeth. Down below, the refugees continue pulling Casca through the crowd, shouting that they need to hurry and burn her. As the demons begin to attack again, Guts cuts away, and the pieces of the demons begin to burn away at his skin. He shouts to himself, asking if this will end the same way as before. Will he not save her again? And then out on the outskirts of the tower, the Skull Knight stops and Luca hops off of her horse, saying thanks for saving her. The Skull Knight tells her that she should value her life, that she should not get close to that tower again. And Luca shrugs, saying that she would want to run away, but she can't. She knows that she can't do anything, so it might sound strange, but she's going to go back. She runs off waving, stating thanks again, and then she heads back to the tower. The Skull Knight watches and says that it looks like she's on her way to finish something. She didn't even think about asking for help. Is this so-called fool's courage or something else? Through the smoke, a figure begins to walk out and the Skull Knight pulls out his sword. And as the Skull Knight looks over, the figure takes shape and Zod stares right at him. Atop the tower, as the god hands begin to gather, the egg of the perfect world continues climbing up to reach them. He says that during his time of death, he wants to be at the highest point to see the end of the world. And when he looks back at Mosgus, he wonders that if maybe he would have met him, if his life would have been different. As he climbs, he then sees the body of Casca's demon fetus bloodied and broken. And the egg of the perfect world says that this is the baby that has saved all of the evil women so many times. However, he has no power and he is facing death. He is the same as him, so this he can offer him. The egg of the perfect world places the baby in his mouth so that they shall die together, and that way they can have a nice dream inside of this world. And that brings us to the conclusion of chapter 165. Thank you guys for sticking it out and enjoying this series with us, and sticking it out when we have to do the shorter episodes to allow us to accommodate our schedule. Don't forget to subscribe to get your every Friday Berserk episodes, and I will see you next time right here.